For the longest of time, I've been hearing all sorts of things about journaling and how it can help improve one's life, how much it helps focus and mental clarity, and overall keeping track of one's goals. For me personally, I was never a big fan of writing ever since I was a kid in school. Therefore, I couldn't help myself but think that this was all a bunch of bullshit. So for as long as I can remember, I simply avoided the idea of journaling or giving it a try. Until I did. Here's what happened. For the past 2 years now, I've been working on changing my life around and improving the way that I live. And with that came the way that I think and the way that I approach things as well. Hence why I decided to make the decision to start journaling for 30 days. If I was to do this, I had to make sure that I would go all in and give it my best shot, and by no means would I want to end up wasting my time. So I decided to commit to journaling for 30 days with no exceptions, and to make sure that I fill one or more page per day, just literally offloading any thoughts or problems that I have in my head, as well as writing down about my future plans and decisions. In this video, I'm going to go over 3 things: why I started journaling, what I think about journaling, and if I recommend journaling to everybody else. So let's get started. Okay, so the very first thing that I can think of right now as to why I started journaling is mostly because I tend to be a perfectionist with everything that I do in my life. And so I wanted to kind of take this small break, if you will, from being a perfectionist. In what way? I thought that if I just take a pen and start writing my thoughts down in ink, which I'll not be able to erase or, correct later on, this would honestly just help me to get something done and move on. Not to dwell on it too much, not to overthink about it too much. Just write it down, get it done, and move on throughout my day. The other reason why I decided to start journaling is because I feel like for the most part, I am not the best at expressing myself to people when I'm speaking. It is still a skill that I am working on and hoping to improve by, the near future, hopefully. But when it came to writing, I felt like it is much more natural to me, and in a way, it is sort of therapeutic, and I definitely have a lot more fun writing my thoughts down than stressing and being anxious about how to put words together in a sentence to speak to someone. And if you probably don't even know by now, English is not my mother tongue, so I'm even struggling with that a little bit. Another reason, honestly, is I figured I go through so much stuff in my life, but then once they're finished, I just move on and eventually forget about them. Well, lately I've been thinking that maybe I should not be forgetting about specific times and memories, so I thought that by journaling, it is some kind of opportunity for me to sit down and write about what happened, and then in the future I can look back at it whenever I want, read what I wrote down, and sort of relive or remember the memories that I have gone through. And last but not least, I am an overthinker, honestly, most definitely. I think about stuff all the time. Even the very moment that I'm gonna go to bed, there's all sorts of stuff going on in my head, and I find it very difficult for me to rest, to actually put my mind at ease. So I thought, maybe, just maybe, I did not know back then, if I start emptying and offloading all my thoughts on a piece of paper, maybe it will help me go through my day a bit easier. Maybe it's going to improve my life just a little tiny bit. So for these reasons, I decided to give journaling a try. Okay, for the second part, which is what I've learned from doing this whole 30-day journaling experience, I'm going to give you specific tips as to what you should look out for when you're journaling, as well as the actual things that I have learned by doing it. So before we begin, I'd just like to say that it's probably better if you invest in a very small notebook. This is the one I used for me. It's very small. I think it's a 5 or A6 in size, and it's very easy to just go through the pages and fill them in because they're very small, opposed to having an A4 or even an A4. A5. I think that, sorry, A5. I think this is an A6 notebook. Try to buy a pen. I know this sounds stupid, but hear me out. Try to get a pen which you are able to appreciate your own handwriting when you're using it. For me, it's this one here. It's a very thin tip pen. I don't know if, see if I can get focus on it. Yeah, this is the one I'm using, so very thin. And I very much enjoy the way my handwriting looks when I use this pen. So I suppose that if you do that and you invest in a pen and a notebook that you are happy to use in a way, well, not happy, but you're more into using instead of something that you wouldn't like, you're more likely going to sit down and spend the time to journal. Throughout the whole 30 days when I was journaling, I figured out during the end of it that I was mostly doing it wrong. By saying wrong, I just mean that instead of doing it in the morning, I was almost always doing it at night after I've gone through my day, after I was tired, after I didn't have any energy to start writing down on a piece of paper. And once I started switching that around, I think it was around the last week of the 30-day challenge, I started journaling in the morning, and I found that to be more relaxing. I was more fresh and I had way more energy. So as soon as I got out of bed, did my morning ritual and did my stretching and washed my face and all that, I got the pen, opened my notebook, wrote about 1 or 2 pages of the thoughts that I have or anything that happened the previous day. And that was so much easier for me to do opposed to getting up out of bed at night and starting to write when I was so tired. So something to definitely keep in mind. Try to do it in the morning instead of at night. I do believe it will be much easier and probably more fun for you to do. Additionally to that, I just want to say that once you wake up and you start journaling, you just get it done and you move on with your day. You know that you don't have to do it later and think of it as a chore, which is what I did in the beginning. I didn't really feel like I wanted to do it. It just felt like something that I had to do simply because I was doing that 30-day challenge. So definitely don't do that to yourself. Do it as soon as you wake up, get it out of the way. And the one thing I really noticed when I was journaling, especially in the morning, is that if you have specific goals or things that you have to do throughout your day, simply by writing them down, it feels as if you are hardwiring them into your brain, and they are no longer just thoughts that are floating around into your multi-billion cell brain or whatever. They are actually being enforced, and you get to think of them more intensely. And as a result of that, I found myself accomplishing all the goals and things that I had on my to-do list for a specific day. So if that helps, definitely keep that in mind. And yeah, honestly, just do it in the morning. Don't leave it for the nighttime. I always leave the notebook right next to my desk where I usually work. Therefore, I can never really forget about it as it is always there in plain sight. That way, I can never really find any excuses to, not do it or or pretend that I forgot to do it, which is honestly just lying to myself in the end of the day. So yeah, I just leave it right here next to me and I can always see it and get to it, get it finished, move on. There's honestly many ways to journal. I basically just chose the most basic one, I believe, because minimalism. I simply just stick a date at the top of the page and then just continue filling in the rest of the page with whatever thoughts I have, writing about how grateful I am, what my future goals are, if I have any decisions to make, maybe that's going to help, and all sorts of stuff like that. Just one thing I tend to write 100% in capital letters. I don't know, that's just the thing that I enjoy the most. I honestly just can't find myself writing in non-capital letters. I do not enjoy it at all. The whole calligraphy where people just start connecting letters and then moving the pen without even raising their hand off the page. I don't like that stuff. So I just like to keep it nice and clean. All capitals, block capitals. I think it looks nicer as well when you flicker through the page, but that's just the thing that I enjoy. So as of the time of this video, it has now been just over 2 months since I first started journaling. And yes, I know what you're thinking. Even though I got past the 30-day journaling challenge, I continued to journal. I have now actually implemented this into my morning ritual as another habit because I did end up enjoying it so much that I just couldn't go without it in a way. I did find it beneficial. It is definitely a tool, nothing more. Is it going to make you a better person? I don't know, but I do find that it helps, especially if I'm trying to let off some steam, if I'm, overthinking, or if I'm stressed. It does help a little bit just by writing my thoughts down on a piece of paper. So, yeah, like I said, it's very shocking because to someone like me who never, ever, ever enjoyed writing from a very young age, I just did not expect that this would be the case with this 30-day challenge. If you're by any chance considering to give journaling a try, I personally definitely recommend you give it a go. Maybe try to see the benefits in it. Just keep in mind the things that I mentioned earlier, the stuff that I suggested that you do, such as journaling in the morning instead of at night. It's going to make your life so much easier, trust me on that one. And I don't really have much else to say. Again, journaling is simply a tool that I use for myself. And yeah, I would honestly just recommend give it a try. If not for a month, then do it for a couple of days and see what it feels like. Maybe you won't like it, maybe you will. You never know. I personally ended up liking it when I thought I wouldn't even make it through the whole challenge. So that's surprising. Alright, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a thumbs up down below. Consider subscribing if you would like to see more videos just like this one, and to also show your support towards this channel. And I will see you guys on the next one.